Okay, here goes, Talion said to himself as he closed his eyes and tried to visualize it. The pond of light, the small stream, the dam. As he focused, he could see it there. The pond of light and the dam. Okay, I see it, Talion said, keeping his eyes closed and trying to stay focused on it. Good. Now break it, Salus said, with a very serious tone of voice. Okay, Talion replied, as he began to visualize cracks forming in the dam. One after another, cracks popping, spreading across its surface. And as he visualized it, he began to see the light, made of water, pouring out of it, in small cracks, beginning to ebb and flow in small streams down the central stream that he stood in, crossing by his feet, splashing against them. And as he did, Talion began to feel a tickling sensation, as if his body was tingling a bit. It worked, Talion shouted. I can feel it. You're not there yet, kid, Salus replied. Trust me, when you're there, you'll know. The dam isn't broken yet. You need to break it, smash it to bits, create a real outflow. Okay, Talion said, as he began to picture more and more cracks forming in the dam. The stone that it was made of beginning to shift and bow as more and more water began to pour out through those largening cracks. It's not enough. Keep pushing, Salus replied, as Talion tried his best to focus on it. More cracks, more pressure, he thought, until finally the dam broke. He visualized it in his mind, the shattering pieces, falling to nothing as a rush of water swept out from it. And with that, Talion was suddenly overcome with a flood of sensations. He could feel rumbling. He could feel his clothes seeming like they were being blown by a very strong breeze. An immense amount of heat and tingling. An all-over tingling sensation that was overwhelmingly powerful. His breath began to race as he stood there, visualizing the water pouring over him. The vision so intense that he had no choice but to open his eyes, actually frightened of it for a moment. And as he did, he saw that it wasn't simply his visualization. As Talion stood there, a silver aura completely encompassed his form, stretching out as if he was on fire with silver. Silver fire burning everything around him. Massive amounts of silver sparkles pouring into the air and floating away. The ground around his feet beginning to give way, cracking and buckling around him. A strong breeze seeming to sweep out from where he stood, rustling his clothing and hair. And even more than that, what seemed like surges of electricity beginning to arc off of his body, his hands, his arms, everything arcing off to the ground nearby him, leaving scorch marks on the ground as they impacted. For a moment, Talion was in a complete panic. What's going on? He said, looking at all the chaos around him. Stop, he thought. Stop! But, regardless of how hard he thought stop, it wouldn't. And as the realization that it just kept coming hit, he suddenly became terrified. What was going on? Why was this happening? Calm down, kid, he heard Silas's voice yell. What? He said in a panic, looking over to him. Salus seemed undeterred by this outburst of silver fire and energy. This is completely normal. This is exactly what I expected to happen. Trust me, you'll be fine. Remember what I told you. This isn't harmful to you. It's your own power. It could harm others, but I assure you, you yourself are safe. The worst thing that can happen is that you run out. In which case, you just run out. You're tired. That's it. But it won't stop. Of course it won't stop. You don't have enough control in order to make it stop. That's not the point of this, Talion. Remember, the point of this is to know the feeling of your own demonic energy, to understand it, to create a flow so strong that your senses can't ignore it. Treat it like it's background noise, and you're wasting your opportunity. Even your energy reserves won't last forever. That outpour will eventually drain you dry. But until that happens, you need to focus. Spend every moment that you can absorbing it. The sensation, the feeling of what that outflow is like. Where it seems to be coming from. How it makes you feel. Physically, emotionally. Focus, Talion. You need to remember this. If you're unable to grasp how to summon your demonic energy, after this outflow is over, then we have to waste another day doing it again. So stop wasting your time and focus, Silas said, looking at him seriously, seeming completely undeterred by the outflow of energy that Talion was producing. Some of the arcs of energy even bolting off and going in his direction, seeming to scatter before impacting him, as if there was some form of barrier protecting him that Talion simply couldn't see. Talion did his best to calm down, focus, to not panic. This is my energy. My energy won't hurt me. Don't panic. Just focus. Remember everything about it. How it feels. Where it's coming from. Focus, Talion thought, clutching his fists and trying to feel everything. As he did, he began noticing the more finite elements of the sensations. For example, he felt as if there was some sort of tugging on his midsection, right around his stomach, as if there were a thread there and someone were pulling at it. Yet the rest of his body felt a pulsating sensation, like waves of energy that pulsed out from that central point. And along the outside of his skin, the tingling sensation that seemed to fill him with energy. With all of this energy pulsing out, his heart was racing, but he wasn't sure whether it was because of the energy or because he was worried about it. So Talion tried to remain calm, and as he did, his heart rate slowed, returning back to normal. Yet the energy continued to flow, so the heartbeat was just him feeling afraid. Calm down. Focus, Talion said to himself, closing his eyes and concentrating on every tiny sensation. Talion doesn't know how long he stood there, letting the energy pour out, trying to focus on it, how it felt. But he must have been doing it for some time. By the time that the outflow seemed to start subsiding, the amount of energy dwindling down to barely anything, a slight shimmer around him, it finally stopped altogether. And Talion, just like Rico before him, collapsed to the ground, laying flat on his back and breathing heavily. Is it over? Talion said. Yeah, kid, it's over. It looks like you burnt it all. Seriously, kid, you are a candle. I've been standing here waiting for you to burn yourself out for over an hour. Jesus. You definitely inherited your dad's energy supply. But hopefully when all is said and done, you'll have a little bit better control over it than he does. And with that, Talion's first day of training with demonic energy came to an end.